to this. This is a recording of a New York State workers' comp so-called quote unquote worker injured workers advocate. Now, listen to exactly what was said here. And you'll hear that I told this lady that I was keeping record of the conversation. Record spelled RECORD, record, okay? So you say tomato, I say tomato. This person was very well aware that I was recording the conversation. So I just want to plant this seed right here. If you or somebody that you know has been affected by some type of unconstitutional wrong that some unconstitutional wrong that has taken place while actively waiting for some type of, appeal decision or trying to find out what's next or anything else like that, and you've received some type of block, feel free, if you live in the state of New York, to take advantage of this video. If you have to let somebody hear it, then let somebody hear it. It sounds like the state of New York has employed people that serve no purpose or do not function as a so-called advocate. This person, just listen to what this person had to say.
Vocational rehabilitation. I can refer you to a social worker.
She doesn't have no authority to do nothing. Listen.
Unfortunately, there's a limitation to what I can do, and it's all mostly within the board. I can contact the carrier. People contact us if their payments are late. We contact them to try and get them done. If they aren't going to be done, we can't, try to get a hearing on quicker. But with administrative review, it's a process that's in the order they were received. Unfortunately, I can't see where the order is, so I can't say, you're number 3, you're number 4, you're number 112. I can't see that. So I mean, there's limitations. I can't wave a magic wand or anything. I mean, it depends on the situation what I can do. Sometimes it's very limited, and sometimes a phone call is enough to help things out. In this particular case, I think you're at a point where you have to wait for this decision to come out. Which, as long as you're already waiting, I don't see that it's going to be that much longer. But like I said, I can't give you a specific time frame either because
let me ask you a question.
That they're received.
Well, let me ask you a question. You're an advocate. I understand you can refer me to a bunch of places. We're talking about New York State Workers' Compensation Board. And when we're talking about New York State Workers' Compensation Board, we're talking about an agency that's assigned the task, okay, of holding firm to its policies and procedures. That's basically what administrative law is. New York State policy and procedure on corrections, this, that, civil, whatever the case might be, whatever agency they open up. When you have an advocate, again, an advocate is somebody who actually takes the function of reaching out and advocating, speaking up for somebody, defending a right or something. Now, let me ask you this question. I understand you can refer me to SSI, SSD, maybe a pantry or something. This is not something that I would expect from a New York State agency that's responsible for breaking a rule or a regulation that prejudices someone else or not. The state indirectly or directly can assume the role of responsibility as somebody that's doing something wrong until something else is decided, which is taking the wrong side first until something changes somewhere down the line. And this is something that I've noticed, that when the insurance company made that claim and the state accepted it, allowed it to sit and cancel payments, when they did that, they automatically prejudiced the injured worker without further notice, not a hearing or anything. So when they told me advocate, I was thinking that, this would be something where you would be able to at least maybe say, hey, this guy, he's been waiting, he's hurt, he has no money, it is holiday season. I feel this guy's paying, he ain't had no money for 2 years. Okay, something to do with a fraud case. Do you think you could check and tell me exactly how far along on the waiting list he is? This guy's been waiting. He doesn't have any money in, and I want to check for him. I just want to see maybe how many more are in front, or maybe how long it might take for it to be answered. You know, even that would be something where in this situation, if somebody called, brokenhearted, no money, holiday season here. Okay, we've been through this before. No money. 2 years now. No money. You know, is there a hotline for that? Would you be able to call over there and see? Maybe somebody just taking a look. Say, oh, we could actually do this one. Hey Dave, what's going on with this? Maybe Dave take a look at it. I'm psychic. You don't know that, but when I tell you I'm psychic, I'm not lying to you. I got channels. I can prove it. I work with law enforcement to solve crime. Just trust me. I'm not making it up. I've even worked with the state, the Department of Homeland Security, New York State Inspector General's office. I'm not lying to you. I'm not making it up. I know that 2 judges are going to rule in my favor. 1 is not. Okay, I know 2 are going to rule in my favor and 1 is not. I'm just waiting for the decision to occur. I don't have nothing. This is a situation where I really didn't do nothing wrong. They just lied on me and stopped my money. I'm really calling from, like, believe me, I'm an angel over the phone. You just don't know it. Believe me, something went wrong and I really got oppressed. And I would really like to know how much longer it's going to take. We don't have any rights down at the lower level anyways. Everything is hush, hush, rush, rush. Put some papers in, say anything that you want to, and then we just make a decision. This is not fair. This is not fair at all. Like, if they want to railroad you, there's nothing that anybody can do to stop it unless you have a paid attorney where you can make him open up his mouth. But with workers' comp, no, your phone get muted. You can't say anything. They talk, and when they want to hear something from you, they unmute the phone. You can't aid in your defense. This is something where I feel like I got punked off. Do you think you could at least maybe see, maybe just call them, and then you could give me a call back? You're the advocate. I mean, when they hear that it's the advocate calling, they're going to know that you're standing up for somebody. You believe in somebody. Somebody really called and made you go above the norm and call over here and see what we're doing. Let me check and see for you. Guess what? Even if it pisses those people off when they see my name, let them make a decision. Because as soon as they make a decision, I'm going to sue the lawyers. I just want to get the state out of the way first. Yeah, I'll appeal that. But now I'm going to sue the lawyers. I own my name. My name that you see, Reese E. Nash, that's a limited liability company. That's a real name. They called me fraud. I'm going to destroy them. I sent them a cease and desist letter. I told them, do not move forward with this bogus allegation. If you do it, there's going to be a civil penalty, and I'm going to come back and destroy you. And I'm not playing. I'm just trying to be nice to let the judge and the court make a decision first. Because once I sue them, it's going to tie in this workers' compensation shenanigan that took place over here. Oh, and I'm going to sue. This is going to happen immediately. As soon as I get a decision, I can't do nothing, though. I don't want to sue them, and then the state feel like they got to take up for them. I don't want to do that. Because then they'll deny it so that in the civil suit, it'll look weird over here. I don't want to manipulate that. That's the cause and effect of declaring war on those lawyers that lied on me about this, to push this forward like this. They took that lawyer's name off of the law firm after this case. When she filed that appeal, they kicked her out the law firm because of this case. But you can't get the state to look at that. Everybody takes their time. I really got beat up. There's a lot of stuff that happened in the background. I was chased, like people was trying to do something to me because of the private investigation company that this insurance company used. I went through all kind of stuff, and I can prove it. This is not stuff. They told the doctor to write that I wasn't injured, or that to underrate it. And I said it in the courtroom, and I said it when he was testifying. They never questioned it. They didn't question to see if it was true or not. They saw he didn't deny it. This is what I've been going through, man. I'm like getting beat all the way down. As my advocate, injured worker, do you think you could call over there and find out what's going on? And then call me back. That way the chain of communication not broken. I'm going to know that when inside your heart, when you made this call, you had the best of intentions. You knew that I was waiting somewhere on the other end of the rainbow, and you reached back out to me. I promise you, if that's something that you could do, God will make sure that something that you want in your life, you will get it, and you will see it happen very fast. You will. It's just that since this is a spider web, New York State, workers' comp, you can't even do nothing. Like, I can't get anything out of my advocate. There's really nothing that you could do. That doesn't function much as an advocate when there's civil rights and due process attached to this. Like, the administrative law judge can make a decision. When I take it to county court, when I take it to Supreme Court, they're going to look at what the administrative law judge did, and they're going to, if they was to rule against me, they probably wouldn't have a job. I know that Erie County Court is not going to play that game. They're not. When I make that appeal, they're not going to do it. This shit have never happened to me. But I don't want to waste too much of your time. But I want to know, do you think you could call over there and see what's going on? How many appeals behind it is? Because maybe whoever answered the phone, when you tell them that somebody that you spoke to is really financially hurt and beat down burden, no Christmas presents, no nothing. If you just was honest and just repeated what you heard me say, that person that picked up the phone, they for the first time would know how it feels that there's somebody on the bottom, how they feel while they're waiting for this appeal. That might be the one thing that changes something, where this person takes affirmative action on trying to push through the appeals process, or maybe even speaking up about it. This is a machine that nobody from the outside can fix until something goes wrong where it can be exploited. And so my case is going to be one where when I get behind the screen on the internet about this, when I do this, there's people going to listen to what I got to say, and I'm not making it up. And this got to do with due process. That's all we got. Once you take away due process and you create a machine of advocates that can't do anything for you, you're just giving people jobs. You're doing this with taxpayers' money, and this is workers' comp. And nothing, only thing you could do is refer me to social services, SSI, SSD. There's not really much you can do. You know, your hands are tied. You could tell me the same thing that somebody who I just call a regular 800 number can tell me. This is not even, so the advocate that's supposed to serve as a buffer between injustice and justice, somebody in a position to speak out and make something happen, somebody who could defend the rights of somebody else, not a referral program, but somebody who could defend the rights of somebody else. That's not what this is about. That's not what this is about. I'm keeping record of what's taking place here. That's why I'm asking you, what is it that you can do? I'm going to be quiet, but I would just like to know, New York State Workers' Compensation Advocate, what is it that you can do for me? Can you call them?
I cannot call them. I don't even have a phone number for them. There are multiple different divisions within the appeals board. Tell me some more. Are you living with anybody else? Do you have somebody else that's trying to help you?
I live with my mom.
Are you living alone?
I live with my mom. My mom is disabled 100%. 2 knee surgeries and a botched leg surgery. She can't walk. So I get freedom care. I got $238 per week. Okay, a loaf of bread is $5-6. Okay, a gallon of milk is about the same. I get food stamps, but they limit that. I pay child support, $168 a week is what I pay. I come home with $238 a week. And that has been like that for years. But I make more than minimum wage, but it's been like that for years. My mom gets SSI, she gets SSD. She lives in subsidized housing. She makes about $800 a month, and she pays $300 a month for rent. She gets food stamps. We both get food stamps. This month coming up, I don't think I'm going to get food stamps because the social worker didn't call me when they were supposed to recertify. So they're going to say maybe they're backed up in mail. Something can happen. I'm going to have to make another phone call to make sure that when it first comes that I have food. If I had anything other than freedom care, it would have been considered work for workers' comp, and they would have been like, you can work. Okay, so they don't acknowledge freedom care as a job as defined by law. So that's the only reason why I have that income. If I didn't have any income and I was just miserably waiting for a decision to be made, it would have been much worse. This is why whatever's going on, it seems like a holiday giveaway. Everybody's got a paycheck coming to work, and you're going to get paid, and you can retire from this state job, but you're not going to help anybody. You're just an advocate. You don't even have a phone number to reach out to anybody. So how can a person advocate between one agency and a hurt worker? How is this an advocate? So do you have a supervisor where you could upsend something to get something done?
With the situation that you are currently in, there is a very specific set of guidelines in order to send it up further, which is either the appeal is holding up medical care, or the party has absolutely zero income.
The party has absolutely zero income. They do not, New York State Workers' Comp do not recognize workers or Freedom Care as income. So you would be able to say...
You told me you have money coming in.
Absolutely, but New York State Workers' Compensation Board does not recognize Freedom Care as employment as defined by law. That's the only reason why I've had it, and I'm still able to get it. If it was recognized as employment, they would have said you can work, go back to work. You can't have a job and be saying you hurt and it lasts this long. It doesn't work that way. What happens is if you're working, oh no, you're working. Freedom Care is not considered work because I live in the same house with my mom. It's not considered work. So you would be able to put that I have no income.
I can't though. I can't. It has to be in your whole household. Your mother has income.
So I'm glad that I'm keeping a record of this. So, but you're telling me that a person has absolutely zero income. Any income is so there's nothing that you can do. As an advocate, there's nothing. So if somebody in the house gets $1 a week is considered income. This is insane, and I'm glad that I'm keeping a record of this because I want others to know about New York State's Workers' Compensation Advocacy Board, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. Because there's nothing.
These restrictions are given to us by the Administrative Review Division. If we bring them anything other than what falls in these guidelines, it's rejected.
Can I ask you a question, though? Do you think that this stuff is fair? Does this sound fair, or does this sound like a loaded gun? Pull the trigger, you're going to die. Pull the trigger again, you're going to die again. No matter what you do, you can't win. This is why I decided to start keeping a record of what's taking place here, because this is something that I just cannot understand. This is a system that is, you really work for New York State, right?
Yes.
So none of this stuff is fair. This is your job. There's nothing that you can do. I'm not going to ask you how long you've had this job. I'm not going to do that. But, does anybody know that you have this job and that there's nothing that you can do? Or is it set up that way? Do they know that you have...
There's different situations where I can do things.
Okay, but when you are an advocate, that means you...
Not every situation.
Well, it sounds like...
I do what I can do.
I know, but
I do what I can do.
Listen, I'm not taking away the fact that you do your job. I'm not saying that you don't do your job. Of course you do your job. You do your job within the fine lines that they gave you. Realistically, those fine lines only serve to prejudice other injured workers. There's not help. You can't even call up to anybody. You can't even say something is wrong here. I understand the process, but maybe if you explain this to somebody else, something can change. This is New York State, where the policies, those fine guidelines that you have, they get amended every single year. Every single year they get amended. Something changes. Nothing changes if nobody knows anything. And if you're an advocate and you can't even speak to the people that are considered to be the adversary, which would be the judges, okay? Because you would serve as a function.
Why would you consider the judge the adversary?
Because the judge is not on one side or the other. So the decision is going to be adversarial. It could work for you or it could work against you. I don't know why you don't understand that, and you're an advocate. It's the scales and the balance The judge could work for you, or the judge could work against you. The judge becomes an advocate. It's the pole in the middle with the two dangling things. It could go in one direction or the other. Okay, so it's not an adversary like he's an enemy. I don't want you to misconstrue enemy for adversary. You're not misconstruing what I said for enemy, are you?
No.
Okay, adversary just means somebody that could be adverse. Okay, make an adverse decision. Okay, which means it could go against you. Okay, so adversary is the buffer between the.
I really don't need a vocabulary lesson.
So then why did you say it,
So
bitch?
then I don't want you to
The
feel
fuck?
like you need a vocabulary lesson, but there's nothing that you could do. Nobody you can call.
Well, you seem to be giving me one.
Well, you
Bitch,
might
'cause
feel
you-
that way. Maybe I'm just like traumatized because of what I'm hearing, and it doesn't line up with the rights and privileges of injured workers. It sounds like it's just loaded to hurt an injured worker or keep an injured worker down with really nothing that you can do. That if you don't
Right,
fall
but you're understanding that the administrative review is addressing a multitude of appeals.
Yeah, this shit
but
was
these
done in
administrative
March.
appeals
It's
are 2
fucking
pages
December.
long, and most appeals don't really come with lengthy minutes because they don't waste much time on these hearings. So every hearing might be like 2 pages. Okay, so this is this is not something that this is definitely an abuse of discretion because it's not a lot of work to be done here. But if you don't slow it down, you don't got job security. The problem is slowing down these 2-page appeals. The response was two pages. The submission was 2 pages. The record is 13 pages. This is over a course of 2 years. This is what's in front of a judge. Okay? The only reason why I'm going over this is because, believe me, what I'm saying to you, at some point in time, it's going to be revisited again where somebody might, from the Inspector General's office, tap you on the shoulder and say, do you remember having this conversation with this guy, Reese E. Nash, a limited liability company? Do you remember talking to him? Did you have this conversation? Did you say this right here? Okay, because you might think that you're just responding to respond, but the reality of it is this is going to come under review. The Inspector General's office is already investigating this, but if the Inspector General's office knew that the advocate or the adversary process here is very limited and can do nothing, it would launch an investigation into it because you're supposed to serve in a state process. You're supposed to serve as a buffer between me and injustice. And when you don't serve that process, you just can only offer up services. That's not an advocate. That means due process has been violated. That means an injured worker can't call in and really get some help because they don't fall into a zero-income household. This person doesn't have anything. If a person didn't have $1, they wouldn't even have a mailing address. A mailing address could be considered as a residence, which would indicate somebody inside this home has income, which could also infer that they might give somebody $1, which would throw it off again. You know what I'm saying? Like that doesn't make any sense. It's zero income. Somebody in the household, nobody can be making money. Y'all got to be in there with $0. We don't have $0. And then if I don't have $0, what do? I call a special number, and then what happens? They automatically give me some money. It doesn't solve a problem. The regulations that you have, they're absurd. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you go at this time. I was able to capture a good portion of this conversation because I want others to be able to see, to hear, to know what the advocacy process is for New York State Workers' Compensation Board. I can't believe that this appeal has taken this long. I did make it very clear that I have borne 2 Christmases, 2 birthdays, 2 of my baby's birthdays, no money, no nothing. Just because I didn't take the $5,000 settlement. They declared war and said, okay, fraud, and just made it up as they went along. This should have never happened to me, but it did. I'm not going to hold you up any longer. I do appreciate what you could do, but I'm just going to say, if you feel like you should be functioning as more than what they allow you to function as, maybe you should speak up to it. You might become the boss of your division because somebody's not thinking properly. If somebody's overlooking that it has to be at least balance between the state and the injured workers, especially if the state is the one that's employing the advocate, but it's still stacked against you. You can't do nothing. You can't, like, there's nothing that can happen. Nothing is immediate. Anything could take a year, 2 years. This is a broken process. You might not see it that way because you get a check every week and it pays your bills. But this truly is a broken process. I'm very disappointed that now that I finally had an opportunity to speak to an advocate, that there's the only thing that you could do is stacked against the injured party. You have to have zero income in order for you to be able to put it up somewhere else. Now, if I had zero income and you put it up somewhere else, that person could still say no. I mean, there's nothing that says they got to say yes. That's the problem. This is a broken process. I hope you enjoy your job. I don't think that it really serves to advocate for others, but I will let you go and thank you for the time that you have taken to at least hear this. But I guess it's not that busy there, anyways, because there's not much that you could do.
All right, you have a good day.
You too. Bye bye. Oh my God! My, this lady. All right. So, in a nutshell, if you get hurt, God forbid you get hurt, New York State Workers' Compensation Board is no different than the New York State Division of Parole. They have no guidelines, they have no standards, they have nothing that guarantees that they can do anything. And as you've just heard, there is nothing that anybody could do to solve any problems for anyone. Okay? So when you look at the term advocate, as a matter of fact, let me take the time, and I didn't do it then, but I'm going to do it now. Okay? Definition of advocate. Okay.
Publicly supports or recommends a particular cause or policy.
It says a person who publicly supports or recommends a particular cause or policy. Okay. As a verb, it says publicly recommend or support. Now, they have a lady sitting in the New York State Workers' Compensation Board, okay, who cannot do anything. They can refer you to SSI, SSD, or a pantry. That's all. They cannot recommend anything else. Now, if I was talking to somebody at the New York State Workers' Compensation Board, they would have been like, well, if you didn't have any income, wait a minute. So you're saying that a person has to be flat out broke, homeless, no income. If you call on the phone, if they can call you back on the phone, how are you paying for the phone? It's not free. You understand what I'm saying? Somebody in New York State, most likely in the Senate, has created something, a monster, that has no regard for injured workers. You have no rights. There are no policies that guarantee you any rights. When you have a hearing, they mute your phone. You cannot speak until they ask you a question. You cannot defend yourself. You cannot aid in your assistance. And if you do, it's one-sided, meaning you're only going to speak to your attorney. You could speak to the judge, but that's it. The judge called me on her phone without the presence of my attorney, asking me to take action in a certain direction, only then to deny my claim, which is insane. The judge is not supposed to call you outside of the lawyer's presence in the first place, but she did. She sure did. She stayed on the phone with me for about an hour, maybe 2 hours. Now, wait a second here. Was this to get a gauge on me as a personal, like me in person? What was this about? What, did she have a conversation with me, see that I'm extremely intelligent and say, well, if I give him some money, he's going to make more money than me again? Was it that? Lady asking me questions about, my personal businesses and things of this nature that I had to dissolve completely in order to move forward. So not only did this judge actively,
cause, everything else that was around me to collapse in order to move forward. But this judge prejudiced me in the end. Now, where did the prejudice come in? Where somebody said fraud. This lawyer never proved fraud. This lawyer said that because I had a female in my car who I kissed, that this was a taxi cab ride. You cannot say it was a taxi cab ride. Did you see money exchange? Was there a fare on the dashboard? Did this call come through a taxi service? It did not. With that being said, in New York State workers' comp, these lawyers for the insurance company have no rules and regulations. They have the authority based on the insurance company paying for the attorney to hire a private investigator. They have billing power, but their billing power, their power to bill the insurance company is so large that there is the potential likelihood for not only overspending, but also they could be fueling an attorney to cause an injured worker's death so that they don't have to pay anything. What's happening with this oversight? This is a big oversight. This is an oversight dealing with spending money lawfully or unlawfully. There's nobody regulating it. There's nobody saying anything. This attorney named Margaret Orange out of a law firm in New York City could have built this insurance company for so much money that she retired. What, just to get a denial? This is something that, for some reason, New York State has done nothing to resolve. And instead, what New York State has done is they have failed to create a policy or a regulation that allows someone who is injured to call and say, hey, this happened to me. Therefore, they could launch some type of investigation into what is taking place and determine whether or not there could or may be some wrongdoing. When an injured worker has nobody to call out to except an attorney, and his attorney says be patient, that's a good advice, I guess. But what if something wrong has occurred? How do you fix that? If there's something that the judge should know but doesn't know, if there's something that somebody is keeping quiet and the judge should be aware of it, the question is, what happens? What happens when the injured worker or the injured party has no voice? I'm hoping that I'm hoping actually that somebody in some way, shape, or form is able to maybe get a hold of this, make a true and accurate determination of what they have heard and what I have said. And once they take action on it, they're going to see. New York State is embezzling taxpayer dollars, funneling it everywhere except where it should go. If there is only a panel of 3 judges, maybe you should create payroll slots, get rid of so-called advocates that can do nothing for you but refer you to where? DSS. Maybe they can refer you to, a pantry, okay? But they can't do anything else for you? I mean, is this an advocate? A referral service? They should not call this person an advocate. And if they're going to call this person an advocate, just know that New York State's version of an advocate breaks down to a referral service, which could be just a voice recording. Get rid of that payroll slot and put somebody in a judge's seat. Look at all of the money wasted all these years. However long that lady has had that job, look at how much money she has wasted, taxpayer dollars, by providing nothing. No answer. She said, and you heard it, she can't call anybody. She doesn't have any numbers, but she does have the number to the pantry, to SSI, SSDI, but she doesn't have anything for anyone else, any other type of thing. She doesn't have it. It doesn't exist. Um, if nobody sees the problem with this, then I think it's time for everybody to wake up. If this is happening in New York State, this is happening in other places. This is the Excelsior state. We lead the pack. The problem is the people that we have in a position to lead, they don't lead. They just get paid. That's all it's about. The almighty dollar. Keeping it away from injured workers, keeping injured workers silenced while they sleep nice and comfy at night to wake up and go into work tomorrow and do nothing. My case started in 2022. It's 2024. I still don't have a decision on my appeal yet. My appeal was put in, from both parties in March. We're in December and there's no decision. Are you serious? Is this true? I mean, anybody who has watched the New York State Parole Board in action, anybody who has a relative who's been on New York State parole, then you can infer from the treatment given or offered from the New York State Division of Parole, whether it was a parole board hearing, initial, up for initial release, or up for a release a second or a third time. Do you understand these parole board members who are administrative law judges? Okay. These people have no policies, no procedures. They don't know anything about policy and procedure. Everything is based on what we think, how we feel, and what we believe. And that's it. Public trust is being abused. So are public positions in public offices. It's time finally for people collectively throughout the states to take a look into what's really going on behind the scenes. Stop laying down, stop waiting, take action. And I guess when something good comes around where I have something good to say, then I'll be back. I did make very clear in the onset when I released the first video that would be the first of 3 videos. This would be the second video. I'm going to move them over to a playlist now. When the third video comes, it is going to state what the New York State Workers' Compensation Board decided, okay, and what action will be taken after that. I have no problem with appealing a New York State decision because by me appealing it, they're going to hear exactly what they need to hear. I will have the record. I will have all of the facts. And this will be a situation where nobody can, say otherwise or do otherwise or bend the rules, okay? New York State is not going to be in a position to respond adequately to my appeal because my appeal is going to be based on the facts. What exactly took place? And it's also going to come with an affidavit of support what it is that I'm saying by saying this is really what happened. Behind the scenes, where the court was aware of it, disregarded it, and allowed it to continue to occur and took no action on it. Whoever that judge was who made that baseless decision, it will be made known publicly, her name, at the time that I have to take that action, so that publicly people know that this person should not be in their position. And at that time, this attorney, Margaret Orange, will be made known to the public in a different light because she's going to be pointed out as a person who paid a private investigator to loosen the bolts on my wheels to cause an accident. It would be my fault. I would have taken a loss, okay? This very same attorney paid the private investigator to hack into my personal devices, cause chaos, drama, conflict, took religious, spiritual videos off the internet, put them in front of a medical doctor and said, is this fraud? This lady did everything that she could. They ran my credit score down into the ground. They destroyed me. I mean, so they thought, but God sent me. So there's no way that they can destroy me. In fact, the only thing that they did was put me in a position to come back later to destroy them. And I like that part. See, It's always okay when you're the one causing the drama, the confusion, the mayhem. It's another thing when the roles reverse. The only way they would be able to stop me from moving forward with continuously announcing what took place at this workers' compensation board, because I'm going to make all of this stuff clear. I'm going to post minutes from the record. I'm going to let y'all see what you don't believe. And I'm going to do this because maybe they was getting away with this for so many years. Where somebody made a mistake is I'm high strung. So there's a mayor's position that's going to be open really soon. And I'm thinking about running for mayor. And if I run for mayor, okay, not only am I going to buckle down on New York State parole officers, not only am I going to buckle down on those parole hearings and make sure that they now have to, I'm going to do it. If I get into City Hall, I'm going to make it that New York State has to create their own public office building, transport, pay to transport their own parolees, okay? Their own parolees to their hearings and hold their hearings in a specific building. I will make it so they will no longer be able to hold New York State parolees in a Erie County Holding Center or Erie County Correctional Facility. I'm going to strip them of that right. I'm going to nullify that contract. They will no longer get the help or the assistance of Buffalo police whenever they have to go apprehend a suspect. They are on their own. They created an agency and gave these public officials, these correction officers, these overglorified corrections officers, these jobs and gave them the right to carry a firearm. I'm going to give them the right to hold their own hearings in their own locations. I'm not going to allow them to further hold their hearings inside the Erie County Correctional Facility at Erie County's expense. And I'm no longer going to allow them to put their inmates inside of the city of Buffalo's city jail. That's my city jail. That's my correctional facility. You will no longer hold a New York State inmate in any one of these facilities. Y'all got the money? You wastefully spending? Good. Go get you a facility. Make it so that it's New York State compliant with holding prisoners, and you will no longer hold them in anything that belongs to me. That's going to give the city of Buffalo more money to spend, more space in the jail, less lawsuits, less inmate to officer assaults. It's going to clear the way. I'm not going to allow this to continue. So when I run for the city of Buffalo's mayor, you best believe when I speak to the people, not only are they going to back me, not only are they going to understand exactly where I'm coming from, but because I'm a person of experience, I'm going to shut New York State out of the city of Buffalo. You will not be able to hold your inmates here anymore. You want to transfer, you want to transport them out to Rochester. If they're going to go for it, take them out there. No more Buffalo police officer assistance with retrieving these parolees. You're on your own. You will no longer call the city of Buffalo. We will not provide you any support. Somebody kill a parole officer, that's not we're not getting into that. Sure, we'll investigate the crime. We're not going on no manhunt. You use New York State Police for that. That's more of a New York State Police job. I'm going to eliminate all of that. This is why. It's time for New York State to become fiscally responsible instead of pushing off all of their burdens and obligations onto the cities, the counties, towns, and villages in this state. Yeah, they think they might be saving money, but they're not, because I'm going to make them do something different. And once I do that, once we have the mayor's convention, I'm going to tell all of the other mayors to get on board. I'm from the city of Buffalo, the biggest city in New York State. We ain't talking about New York City where they got, a little bit of land and a whole bunch of high-rise buildings holding thousands of people. And this is how come their population is so big. No, that's like a false representation of population, okay? Where I live here in the city of Buffalo, people are here because they want to be here. People migrate here because they want to be here. They don't migrate to New York City where there's nothing. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, but look at the cost of living. Who really wants to live in a high rise? Didn't they learn a lesson after 9/11? I don't know that that's a smart idea, But if that's what they want to do, or if that's what they're limited to, then that's fine. But one thing I'm not going to do, if I get in the mayor's office, is allow New York State to continue to put my officers at risk, my jails at risk, or anything else. What that's going to do is it's going to cause New York State Division of Parole to start reviewing their cases before they force somebody else to review their cases, because they're not going to have the space, they're not going to have the luxury of loading them up in the jails. They will not, a parole officer will not be allowed to enter the city or the county jail unless it's to visit an inmate who's already been charged with a crime. Then they can go in there and serve the papers. After that, they got to get the fuck out. No chances, no second chances. We're not re-reviewing this. And if they say something like, let's get this guy out of here, you just fucking parole officers. I'll make every Buffalo cop investigate every last one of you motherfuckers and started, don't put me in that position. Because once I'm in that position, I'm going to take action. If you come after me, you come after the city, I'll come after you guys. I don't care if you work for the state. And it'll stay like that. There will be no compromise. They got a job to do, let them do that on their own. So this is what I have for you today, ladies and gentlemen. Until we meet again, peace.